Welcome back to the True Church of Jesus Christ with His Latter-day Saints, and we are grafting ourselves back to the tree of life. We're trying to find the way within the city of the nine gates, even though it might not be with the two eyes, two nose, two ears, and that one big mouth. We're trying to find the pearl of great price. Now, building up philosophy, building up understanding, it's somewhat what humans do naturally. Anyways, so trying to build up an understanding of what you are and how you're approaching life. Yes, you might want to build a philosophy, especially God's philosophy. God tries to tell us that man is in this city, this activity of nine gates, but there's a me within, this transcendental consciousness, not in the mind. So if we look at this picture here, we could just visualize ourselves. This is the activity that goes on in the city of the nine gates. But there's a transcendental consciousness within the heart of this city. And we are trying to graft ourselves back onto the tree. So we got a couple scriptures here. We'll go to the Colburn Bible. We'll talk about that. Before we get into it, let's go to Romans 11. And we'll go to verse 17. If some of the branches were cut off, and a branch of a wild olive tree have been grafted in among the others, and have come in to share in the rich root of the olive, do not boast against the branches. So yeah, some of the rich root of the olive, the spiritual ideas, especially from other, pruners of the vineyard. So in the Colburn Bible, there's a lot of rich olives and olive oil we could be eating. So that's why I'm going to be reading the scriptures, especially from that. And what St. Paul's really telling us here is that the Jews, or the Hebrews, St. Paul's the minister of the Gentiles. So he's talking about these wild olives, the Gentiles who are under the law, who have no God, are now being grafted back onto the tree. So St. Paul's giving the gospel to the world, or to the Gentiles. This is what this is all about, because we're trying to bring ourselves back into the promise of Abraham, or into the one God. And this one God as well has been working and planting his vineyard throughout all the entire world. So God's the farmer of souls. He's looking for people to graft themselves back onto the eternal tree, and to give up this wild olive, this temporal dead branch, or this man that's cut off from the pearl of great price within the nine gates. See, God is immortal consciousness, immaculate conceived. So God's not conceived by mortal hands. So within the city of the nine gates, while you're praying, you could use these parables for yourself. Contemplation and prayer is like going to the gym and exercising properly with the correct exercises. So we all want results in life. People go to the gym because they want that physical. Well, I don't know why people go to the gym, actually, to be honest with you. Because this is what religion's all about. What do other people believe? What are they doing? Even when people, let's say if Jesus Christ was here, what does he believe in? What is he actually trying to say? What's his teaching? How can we, let's say if we go to the gym and we find someone that knows how to train. See, we try to learn from him because, it's easy that we want what he wants. But we have to work towards that. We can't just sit around and be once saved and always saved. That's not how God works either. So like going to the gym, if you just sat around and looked at the girls, you're not going to be building any muscles. And if you don't approach the way properly, then you won't be able to graft yourself into that look, especially in the gym. So in the 70s, when Arnold was pumping iron, they had what was known as the look. And you could every human body can potentially look like Arnold, because it's called a way of perfection. Or you could say this molded idea of wisdom. So out of man's wisdom, he could craft bodies, or he could body build. One of the earlier bodybuilders was Steve Reeves. And if we graft ourselves to these ideas, you see, if you, even though you might, like I was just a hopeless 300-pounder at one point. See, that's darkness. Because I was not grafting myself onto these ideas at first. We all want results. We all want change. I wanted what I wanted in life, which is very simple. I always wanted to train, and I always wanted to have that look for myself. So how do I do it? I can't just sit around and accept being under the law, like, let's say God now, accept these different religions, or just accept what everybody else says. Because if I go to my mom and ask her how to bodybuild, well, she has no idea. Especially that eating department. She just wants to feed me lasagna and spaghetti. Because we're Italian. You see this mold? A dead branch? Not getting yourself involved in these activities keeps us the dead branch. So just like God, if we don't follow God correctly and understand these ideas and concepts, then we're just eating the bread of the Pharisees. So if you want God in your life, right, would you go to your mother and ask, oh, Mom, how do I get God? So like Cartman, he goes to his mom because he wants Mega Mans. She gives him the Mega Mans. So some parents can raise their kids correctly, but most parents cannot, just like Abraham and his father. Abraham's father was an idolater who worshipped statues. And Abraham's like, why are you worshiping statues? They don't talk back. They can't help you. And it angered his father. So sometimes in our life, we can't get information just from whoever's available around us. We have to seek out teachers, people who know. So when you go to the gym, not everybody knows how to train. They're going to blame their genetics, or they're not going to get involved in the proper activity, the understanding of hard work, discipline, self-control. See, some people don't want to do those things. And then they go to the gym and they want the perfected results out of wisdom it takes in order to achieve these higher levels. Anybody can do it. It's the same idea with enlightenment. It's not going to be easy. You have to follow or graft yourself onto these ideas. That's how you graft yourself in the city of the 9 gates. Because the woman at first is tempted with all types of form. So the mortal intelligence, when our souls enter into the city of the 9 gates, we forget our very best friend right off the bat from birth, which is the Spirit of God. The Spirit of God enters all being. But man is in this lost and fallen state, and he only has his intelligence working with this mortal form. And that's very important because some people don't mold themselves to the proper ideas of their art. So when you go to the gym, you're just going to find, especially certain gyms, just your fools working in any type of order, or there's other sects, SECTS, and groups or ideas like CrossFit, let's say. So this is how religion forms. God gave a promise to Abraham. He didn't give him a religion. So God gave, you could say, like, well, specific, very unique forms of wisdom, like bodybuilding. You can only attain a certain measure of bodybuilding. And that's not foolish, because you can only look like Arnold. That's the product. You see the perfection. Man is limited to these forms. And if man doesn't graft himself back onto this proper wisdom, then he cannot receive the proper wisdom. So there's a certain wisdom and perfection even in man, but he has to graft himself on with wisdom and knowledge. And this is what sets us apart from the CrossFitters, let's say. So the CrossFitters just do whatever. That's their approach to training. Just bounce on a ball for 10 minutes, go over here and lift up 300 pounds, then go over here and do some just do whatever. You see this wild olive branch? It's the same thing with the mortals or the dead branches under the law. They just do whatever. And this doing whatever approach, especially in religion, see, it's not going to get you enlightenment or the result, which is God consciousness, or John 14, verse 21. I will reveal myself. That's grafting ourselves back. That's how the fat putz can turn into Arnold, with faith and wisdom, not with steroids. See, cheating, you can't cheat God. That's why it's a lot harder to walk the way. See, God's the craftsman. He's trying to mold us into the image and likeness of his Son. And we have to walk. So we have to go to the gym and craft ourselves into this perfected image as best as we possibly can. There's a lot of inspired people out there. So guys that were heavy like myself, you can see them on YouTube. They've trained really hard. They still have that, extra coat of skin. And it's not their fault. It's from going from 300 pounds to having drastic results through faith and knowledge, wisdom. See, they gain a certain wisdom now. Men have to struggle. It's a struggle for this enlightenment as well. Just like it was a struggle for certain people like myself and the people in this now fitness community that are coming out from darkness, out of this 300-pound state. But for the people engaged in that, they're not going to receive the perfection. You don't have to take steroids. It's just the fact that the body was in so much darkness before. Some people look like flat tires, and we'll always have that, extra bit of the past. So human beings can only achieve a certain amount of perfection. That's why I was really angry with myself. Because in my 20s, I realized that you have to be in your, 10 years old. You have to be in your early teens in order to really excel in these arts that create wisdom. Arnold just didn't get into bodybuilding after a couple years and looked like Arnold. Arnold looked like Arnold since he was 16 years old, because he got into this activity when he was young. And this is the idea that this age is the fact that youth are so wasted in talent because they don't know what to do in their early molding. That's why I got so angry and just started self-educating myself, because I knew this education system was a waste of time, especially with trying to achieve something, an art, a profession that actually takes wisdom. And you have to have faith in yourself. So those guys that are able to turn it around, they're working in faith and wisdom every day they go to the gym. And they're able to do things righteously, which produces those results. For us, it's the same thing walking with the way. He tells us to seek God's righteousness. And if we take on a certain measure of knowledge correctly, this knowledge is what grafts us back to the tree. So prayer is like lifting weights. You have to go to the gym and understand what you're doing and create a philosophy. Now really understand what you're doing. As those guys, especially the professionals, quote unquote, the professional bodybuilders, they all build their body the same way. They only have one principle. If you see these Jay Cutler guys or these Kai Green guys or Ronnie Coleman, they all do the same thing. They all have their chest day, their Monday, their Wednesday, and they all work the same way because they're trying to create that form. You see, results actually create something. And if you do things correctly, those guys are trying to achieve a form. Even though it might look like the modern bodybuilder, it's the modern bodybuilder physique anyways. But there's a way to obtain it. So you can't just eat a bunch of steroids and do whatever you want in order to look like that. It's just the same thing with religion. You can't just do whatever you want to do and then expect the way to be open up to you. Just because you did a little bit of this or researched a little bit of that. No, you see those guys, they're imprisoned. Just like St. Paul says, he's imprisoned in the gospel. It means he's imprisoned in these principles that you can't break. Matthew chapter 6. Do not take thought. See, the way will open up to you. That's imprisoning yourself in this principle so it can perfect itself within you. So that's what all those bodybuilders are doing. Even though there's, cabinets and cabinets full of steroids, they are expert at performing their rituals, you could say, because they know how to produce that form. It's going to take a certain amount of this. It's going to take a certain amount of work, and especially the eating part's all the same. They all just eat rice and chicken, especially when they get contest quote-unquote ready. They're trying to cut as much fat as possible. That's also what produces this protrusion of muscle. The only way you could cut weight is by eating a particular way that produces results, wisdom. These guys aren't just doing things randomly. There's a science behind every possible form that man does. It could be bodybuilding, it could be gymnastics, it could be playing a piano. Everything has faith and wisdom behind it. A certain measure of it in order to achieve the desired or perfected result. Men aren't looking for that grafted, perfected result because they don't want to achieve God and say God is the only perfection. So now, like the guys that have worked hard from the 300-pound state to, let's say, an acceptable state in their minds, they're never going to achieve physical perfection. Doesn't matter how much drugs they take because of their old lifestyle. See, coming out from the old, it's going to take as much work as a 300-pounder went from 300 pounds to 150 pounds. That's the transition from the mortal into the immortal. It's going to take a tremendous amount of work to graft ourselves back on the tree. And we're eating off of other people's ideas. You want to eat off of the best, it's like the best ideas, but the ideas have to work for you, or else you're going to be lost. If people want to understand bodybuilding, it's so simple. Remember, patterns and forms. If you train your chest a particular way, if you do particular exercises, it will form it won't form a particular way, it'll develop a particular way. Same thing with shoulders. If you do particular exercises, they'll develop particular ways. How to form this look into, you could say, the look in bodybuilding is doing things very particular. You have to learn how to stand straight and suck in your stomach. So that's making the vacuum. And then you start doing your exercises that way. So how you build in the principles of bodybuilding is every day has to try your best to overcome. It's also with training the gospel. We try our best to overcome yesterday's adversities. We're not going there. See, this is how evil is portrayed. Vanity. We're not going in there to talk to people, make friends with girls or whatever. See, it's also sticking to the straight way. It's an individual responsibility. Only you can build the muscle. So on chest days, there's basically 3 exercises. The pro bodybuilders use the barbell, so the long bell, or the long bar. But I use dumbbells. And I got dumbbells and dips. So there's an incline bench, a flat bench, and a decline bench. And then there's dips, and then you can work the cables. You do 3 sets of each, and that's your principle that you work off of. It's very simple to work off of principles. I didn't change my exercise routine at all for 10 years. You don't need to. You don't need to go to the gym and do something new every day, like some people would believe in CrossFit. You have to do something you have to do something to stimulate the body so it doesn't fall into inertia. And that's not true. The only thing that falls into inertia is the consciousness of the individual and his belief systems. Ask the professional bodybuilder if he changes his bodybuilding routine. It's insane. That's what he would say, because he's prisoned in this principle, or else he will not look. See that look? When he's judged on stage, he will not look the part, and he will lose. That's why they do not change their habits, their behaviors, their form. You see, that's why it's called bodybuilding, to build this form, this principle. It's the same thing with God in the way, to build this principle within us. And this is what produces enlightenment. So the goal, we're not looking to be bodybuilders with God's religion. We're looking for that light that enlightens all men, to graft ourselves back to the tree. And by diligently following the principles, like trying hard, yeah, that's what, it's going to take work from transitioning from the mortal. Because men have a lot of work to do in uncovering God within. Because the mortal branch is like the 300 and 400 pounder. All the dead branches in the material nature are just considered the 300-400 pounders, dead in spiritual darkness. And they have not been spiritually bodybuilding by reading the Gospels, praying, understanding God's ways. See, no one's going to the gym of God and becoming jacked up with the garment in the prodigal son parable, receiving the the light that enlightens all men. That's why you pray. You go into the city of the 9 gates yourself, and you're looking to prune the vineyard. See, that's why you follow the principles or the parables. Just like the weight trainers, they have the Arnold magazine. Well, we're given the gospel. We don't have to look at Arnold magazine. You might have to look at Arnold magazine when you're training. You see, try to build up knowledge. But God's giving us his gospel in order to train up spiritual principles and to receive his spiritual grace. So we'll go into the Colbert, and this is Lucius, chapter 3. The image and nature of the Supreme Spirit reside in the soul seed of man. So this is how God's image and likeness is in us. God's Spirit is in the soul of man, but he's in the heart of man, not in the mind. Just as the image and nature of an oak tree reside in an acorn. Yes, the seed. See, this temporal branch that's cut off, you can just imagine it as a seed. And it is going to grow into the immortal by being fertilized with the Word of God, by the waters of God. See, that's understanding John chapter 6. In the city of the 9 gates, there's this inner waters. It's this hidden 1 gate, or the 10th gate. It's not a part of the 9 gates. You see, understanding God's immaculate conception. God's not a part of the 9 gates. But you see yourself, I forgot about my friend. We're praying to God now, just like he told his disciples that he called them my friends. And now we're trying to get back into the house, you see, to know what the owner of the house is doing. And that's spiritual consciousness, or seeking, asking, and knocking for the kingdom of God. This is how we pray within ourselves. This is what picks up the weights, is the parables. So when you're sitting there praying, you're not just sitting there staring into time and space like some of these fake Buddhists. You've been given thoughts, and those thoughts work itself back to God. It's just that simple. But if you go to the gym, like you go to the gym out in the outer world, and you don't know how to train, then, picking up the weights is not going to really do anything for you. It's just going to get involved like with people that do in religion. If they don't pick up the gospel and know what they're properly doing, just going back home to Godhead, then it's just like a bunch of people that are weird, right? They hang out and you don't know why they're hanging. Like, why would people go out to a gym and hang out? It's weird. You're there to, isn't there weights there? Aren't you there to train? No, not to some people. See, that's what this Good Life gym was all about. Oh, people just go there to have a good old time, especially in the morning. See these old guys and these hot girls all up in the morning. That's because they don't want to train with all these guys past 4 o'clock after work or something like that. So there's a lot of pretty girls in the morning, and guess who's there? Just these creepy old guys. They're not training, you see. They're just doing things, pretending to train, so they could go to these girls and touch them. Oh, hi, how are you? And try to hug, try to touch them. See these pathetic scoundrels? They have wives at home, and they'd rather go to they go to the gym to see these gorgeous girls in yoga pants and to try to perform ill-religious behavior. It's no different than the churchgoers that go to church and they don't know what. See, those old guys don't go there to train. They go there to have a good time. That's the bread of the Pharisees. That's what bothered me. See, like these human proclivities, call them. It drove me out of my mind for a long time, going to this gym, and I was taking it seriously because I know I am the reaper of these results. But everybody around me was having a good time, looking at their cell phones, joking with each other. I couldn't get it. That's why I went at certain times, early in the morning. It's because I was on afternoon shift as well. But you notice these things. It's the same thing with religion. If you go to these churches, you see people foaming out the mouth and yelling and screaming. There's nothing about the way there. So when you go to church, there's a purpose. It's like going to the gym. There's a purpose. You know what you're doing. But the other people don't. They're having barbecues. Oh, ripping people off for money. That's the biggest thing that the church world is all about. Money. And ripping people off from it. Extorting, racketeering houses. That's what a church is. It's just a mafioso extorting and racketeering business. Where Sally Struthers can eat all the children's foods in Africa. I don't know what the hell these Christian children's funds have been doing. Why aren't all the starving people in Africa fed food? That organization's been around for a long time. Nope, just more racketeering and extortion, and those people have been poorer than ever. What's the church doing then? What are these... You see, when you go to the gym, I had a lot of physical strength. And lucky my hands wrapped around barbells and dumbbells rather than people's throats. Because it's just the same thing. Our lives are on the line here in this realm, and there's just a bunch of people that are doing things wrong. Especially with life. They're playing around with life, people. This isn't like, okay, the gym's like not necessarily a hobby because you can grow your life in these results. Same thing with God. People are playing around with church and with life. And you wonder why. What the heck? That's very unnatural. See, man doesn't take this responsibility. What are these people doing? It boggles my mind. It hurts my head. That's why God's like, come to me. Matthew chapter 6. Don't go to those churches. I didn't tell you to go to a synagogue. I never went to a church in my life. You know why? Because it'd just be like going to the gym. Angry. Pissed. Ready to train. Everyone's just sleeping, looking at girls. You see the sleepers, the dead branches? Just imagine you have that much zeal, energy. You want to go to the church and pray and have the word be preached to you with that much zeal, enthusiasm. That's how I approach the gym, because I know, see, this devil, this greed, man works in darkness. That's how everyone works under the law. I know what fruitive actions are, just gaining results. So when I went to the gym, I was a beaver, you could say, collecting those sticks and building my dam. Just like he says there, building a house upon a rock. I was just going to this place, farming it out for results, and getting the hell out of there as quick as possible, because all the other sleepers and dreamers doing whatever, like pylons. Just imagine the church world. Just imagine our politics. Just imagine this friggin' world. When you start waking up, this world isn't ran by righteous people. We have people in politics with pink hair. Just imagine, like our forefathers, per se. There wasn't anybody around there with pink hair. Now that's what it's come down to, you see, this ill-religious form. These ideas, the bread of the Pharisees, ill religion has permeated the earth, where now the thoughts of man have degraded, and his professions, his activities. In politics, walk into a room and you see someone with a political mind, especially that knows what they're doing. So someone like Abe Lincoln, if you bring him into this weight room of politics, I bet you he would vomit out the mouth, because it shouldn't be like this, you see. So when someone has the mind of going to the gym and they know how to train, and you walk in there, you see these fools. It's like, what are these people doing? That's the state of our society. When you walk into the church, you see these fools. What are these people doing? I have no idea. That's why this world isn't a lost and fallen state. It's lost righteousness in these very important departments of life that guide our life, that sustain our life. When the soil, so let's just say our thoughts, feelings, and actions, good passions and ignorance, when that soil gets filled up with the bread of the Pharisees, it makes darkness and the shadow of death. And that's how this eagle has been flying around the beast, making a shadow of death all around the world. So that's why there's, the pride flags in politics right now, because of the eagle flying around its ideas of ill religion, planting the seeds of ill religion in man's minds, and making men do these things because that's what they relate. See the idea of themselves? That's also very important, as we're trying to craft ourselves to a principle, not an idea of the dead branch. The dead branch has to get out of what he thinks he is and find me. I am the only light. I am the only person. See, the dead branches, they come from a collective unconscious. An unconscious. A death state. God is the life, or the great I am. I am the life. I'm the only individual. And God is in charge of this realm of darkness. So all the dead branches moving under the electromagnetic nature. God is not only the bumper car, so the body, he's also the driver sitting in the car. He's also the apparatus that connects the cable, so the mind, to the firmament or the ceiling of the bumper car arena. God is all of those activities. But man is in a lost and fallen state where he believes that he has no God in this realm, or God is not these activities, or God is not his state of consciousness, or his mind, or that these people, or see the wisdom then, if people have an atheist point of view, which is what our society is, that's why there's a degradation in people themselves, in politics. There's no wisdom in them. That's why our politicians cannot perform righteousness, because they have no wisdom, because they're irreligious. They don't believe in God. And that's very simple of how there's a degradation in our society, an atheistic point of view. This is already in the scriptures when the master says, when I remove one demon, 7 more will come. And that's what it will be like till the end of this age. So more evil. Men have never been so evil in this time and space. You can see that in the corruption of value decay. There's no society anymore, social. It's all a bunch of greedy, see these greedy white people about their trust funds? That's what the average, it's not the average Canadian, it's just like your rich Canadian who just keeps his money in his bank account, because that's what this corrupt government is expert at, exploiting people with money. So if you get a certain amount of money in Canada and put it in one of these bank accounts, you don't have to pay tax. Oh, that's the biggest Canadian scam in the world. So who made that? The greedy, corrupt politicians. Why don't they want to pay tax? Why don't the rich people see? They don't want to give their money to the poor people, and that's why there's too much poor people. Because for years and years and years, this friggin' government has been allowing rich people to not pay tax. Well, what else has this corrupt government been doing, if we're on that topic, especially with money? This Trudeau is the biggest drug peddler and thief. This government has made marijuana legal since 2018 and has opened up dispensaries and made a silent fortune. Mr. Trudeau is one of the richest, greediest POS persons on this planet Earth. He's one of the richest. I don't think I put that into perspective too. How did he get so rich? See, when he entered into politics, he wasn't that rich before. But when he allowed this marijuana in, see this industry, it's under the rug in Canada. No one talks about this at all. They don't talk about what really matters. Is an industry so huge like marijuana is under the rug. No one knows how much money this industry made for the economy, the impact it's done for the country. None of that's talked about. A new industry made its way into Canada, and no one, it's just like adding another swimming pool and dumping a whole bunch of money into it. But who got all the money? Trudeau. That's who stole all the Canadians' marijuana money. They don't have it. It's not it's not even talked about, actually. It's like a vacuum. People are just so doped up and asleep and accept that they have dispensaries now, but don't realize that the money that they're spending on this is all going towards that politician's pocket. Not to any benefit, because this country is more bankrupt than it's ever been. Why are the people sleeping out in the street? If this guy just vacuumed up another industry, like industry is huge. Let's say the car industry being billions and billions and trillions of dollars. See, this industry of marijuana, it only brought billions of dollars to Trudeau, nobody else. When that money was introduced into certain states, like Colorado, they had a surplus in tax fund and gave that money to the poor and built shelters, all because of this new industry known as marijuana. So the greedy, like these politicians in Canada, they're very expert at stealing money from the average people. They get their greedy hands into every little thing. Gambling, yep, they're all the kings of gamblers. The government's got their money into everything possible. But the people have nothing from it. Only in this socialist country, the dead branches, 40% work for the government or take government income. So the majority of this country is socialist. They depend on this government. And this government only takes money away from them. It doesn't give any back. That's because they don't even pay taxes on their income if they make a certain amount of money. And this country has a lot of the rich. outside of Hamilton is basically all rich people. Burlington, Ancaster. There's like 3 or 4 cities that are all rich, and Hamilton is this just dark crap hole of poor people that all need these other rich people's money. But that's like 3 or 4 cities of all these other people that are not paying taxes on their revenue because of the government allows this scam. It's been keeping poor people very poor. And it's been blurring the lines as into what's like accomplishable. Can you have a universal income? Can you have people not starving? Can you have equality in money? And the answer is yes. But there's just people out there that take it and blatantly take it, and there's nothing you can do. See this darkness now? The people are useless. They're just useless to these governments. Useless people serve these governments, and that's what you get. You get a people known as Canadians that can't do anything. They're in this situation where this government is just taking the life out of them and introducing all kinds of whatever it wants to do in order to just line the pockets of one guy. So the French fry, this other guy in office, Pierre Elliott, I don't know, whatever this guy's name is, this other French fry crying, oh, that Trudeau is just lining his pockets and his trust funds. And he's putting all the burden on you people. See, when I heard him say that, you people, this guy has a nice suit and he sits in this political arena. And he damn well says that, you people. He doesn't put the burdens on himself. See, the burdens of government, it's not on the burden of the government. It's on us people. It's on you, the taxpayer. See, when that guy said that, this slimy, greedy government, he's just a jealous fool himself, this French fry. And just wants what Pierre has, or whatever this Trudeau is. He just wants money. He wants the one that has the trust fund with the most money. See this antagonist in politics? They don't give a damn about the people. The people, like he said, you're burdened with the Trudeau government, not us. Not the people like him that still have a suit on and are in politics. He doesn't take any burdens from life. Why? Because he has a trust fund and you don't. See, he's in this racketeering game in government. That's why you can't trust these clowns. Doesn't matter who the hell they are. They're in this racketeering and extortion business known as politics. It's like going into the weight room now. There's just a whole bunch of people doing things wrong. When you go into politics and it's dug forward and just doing things wrong, what are you going to do in this life? You can't put your hands around people's necks. You can't grab guns and shoot them anymore. So when a whole bunch of people are doing things wrong in society, it creates this society where people can't do anything anymore. The family structure is taken. People have to work too long for anything. They just have to work now. That's what this society made. A bunch of slaves. And the only way you could defeat slavery is by the Christ's work. He came to defeat the beast. So Revelations 3, the trials of the beast. These are the trials of the beast because man is at his height of ill religion. And the height of ill religion is all from these people that just aren't doing things righteous anymore. So Revelations 3, we'll go to verse 10. Because you kept my plea to stand fast, I will keep you safe in the time of trial, which is coming on the whole world to test all men on earth. Verse 11, I'm coming soon. Hold fast to what you have, lest someone rob you of your crown. And I'll make you a pillar to the victor. See, of this trial of the beast. this irreligious government. Our war is not with people, because you can't shoot them anymore. You can't choke them anymore. See, this society, it's made people like just soft, just to accept it. But if you don't want to accept it, these trials of the beast and all these people committing ill religion, and you're just swamped under the reactions of sin from other people, the sinful reactions of our government is poor people on the street, and your rent now is about 3 times the price it should be from even 5 years ago. See this trial of the beast? We have to graft ourselves back onto the tree of God in order for him to help us. See, God helps us, me, sitting here with a Bible in my hand and with these trials of the beast. That's what those verses mean in Revelation. I will keep you safe in the times of trial that are coming upon the whole world. The whole world is having this ill-religious political system. China is, I don't know, they said is 40 years behind now because of the sudden economic collapse. It's a suddenly will come upon them. This whole year, see, our government bases its government from China. Land, property. That's what this government turned into. Selling its land to the highest bidder. It can't do it anymore. That's what created the collapse in China. That's what's going to create the collapse here, because the government, see this shadow, this evil, this darkness, these principalities, they're not working in the interest of man, making his life easier on earth. No, they work to destroy, make his life miserable with these trials of the beast, making things too expensive. Your rent even for the average person now, the inflation's ridiculous. Minimum wage is almost $20 an hour. I remember in my lifetime, when I was 14, 15 years old, you get the first job, minimum wage. It was $6.40, or maybe even $5.95 an hour. $5. Now in Canada, it's like $17 or $18 an hour. That's minimum wage. See the inflation, the evil? It's never been like that in such a short time. 20 years of this inflation. None like before. This is the precursor to the digital beast, or the reset. The one world government. That's the plan of this evil government all around the world, is to force people into this collapse and to accept a new dollar, a digital currency, a digital one world government. That's why this trial of the beast, practicing God's way, is the answer to man's slavery. So that's also the chapters of the Colburn Bible. Aloma, she was witnessing this slavery. And they're not under the slavery of the devil. They're under the hammers of God, because God is calling us to repent in the last age. That's what the rod is. That's what all the shaking is. It's a call to repentance. Because the one that comes in the name of the Lord is going to come. Man is at a point where he's like a bear trapped up against the wall. He doesn't know when he's going to eat the next day. He doesn't know when his dollar is going to be worthless. He doesn't know when the Russians are going to drop a bomb on him. He doesn't know these circumstances that he made for himself, a folding house of cards. And just like the wild animal needs to eat, it traps itself out of hunger. And the only thing now that's going to save man is God. This is the revelations of God. That man now is a cornered beast, but his eagle, his America, is going to get blown out of the sky. And a new world order in this realm will happen. It's only going to last for 7 years. That's also the revelation. 7 years of this beast and this trial, where men are going to be under this one world government. And digital currency just to survive. Either way, we're looking forward to this coming because we see this house of cards collapsing on itself, and we've been given the gospel, a new hope, a new world. After this beast and its trials, that's when the 1,000-year reign of Christ will happen. And I have no idea what's going to happen in between those 1,000 years. I haven't been given anything. God's not going to... That's one thing God's been keeping tight. He's been telling everything possible up until this event. The 3 days of darkness. He's been telling about the 144,000. And to the rolling back of the sky, the pouring of the smoke, CERN, the devil, the Nephilim, everything possible. But he's not giving any information of what we're going to be doing in the 1,000 years after this event takes place. He hasn't given anything like that to Vicky, Goforth Parnell. He hasn't given that to the guy at UB Ready. He hasn't given that to anybody, not to me. Nobody. Nobody knows what's going to happen after these trials of the beast and how Christ will live with humanity for 1,000 years. All God's been giving is just revelation to a certain point in Scripture, up until, like, I would say Revelations 11. And that's all we've been getting knowledge of, not too much after the 1,000-year reign, or how this beast is going to come to an end and the transition into the new world. It's not really explained too much other than the rolling back of the sky, and he's going to collect his bride. So that's even Revelations. See, the Revelation 6, the sixth seal, that hasn't happened yet. That's what we're supposed to look forward to, is the shaking of this earth first. And then the gathering. So Revelation 7, he's given a lot of knowledge about that. Revelation 8, given a lot of knowledge about that. Revelation 9, opening up the pit, given a lot of knowledge about that. The Antichrist after, too. The beast system. Revelation 11. Whatever happens after that, Jesus Christ has not been giving his disciples in this age what happens after. He's been giving the glorification of the first fruits. So you could, what people call the rapture. People transforming into light. Or you could say Matthew 13, verse 38, when he comes back for the harvest. So there's a lot of revelation about the harvest. But not so much after the 1,000 years. We're just going to have to stick around for that, I guess. So thank you guys. I had a whole lot of fun. Until next time, take care.